Reflections from Torch Trust, focusing on Christian faith and sight loss.
Hello and a warm welcome to Reflections, the show from Torch Trust that focuses on faith and disability in today's world. I'm your host, Marilyn Baker, and I'm so glad you've joined us today because we're about to get cooking. I love getting in the kitchen and rustling up meals to feed my friends. But one thing I've never tried is making my own Christmas pudding. Well, when our producer Grace told me that today, the last Sunday before Advent, was known as Stir Up Sunday and was traditionally the day to start your pudding, I wanted to learn more. Well, today we're going to talk about something very seasonal, making Christmas puddings. And I've got Grace and Jill with me. Now, today, you see, is Stir Up Sunday. I've never heard of Stir Up Sunday. Grace, can you tell us what that's all about, please?
Yes, absolutely. So Stir Up Sunday is a bit of a traditional thing. It's used in some Anglican churches and some Catholic churches on the last Sunday before Advent begins. And it gets its name from the Book of Common Prayer. And the collect used on that day begins with, "Stir up, we beseech thee." And it's become associated with the custom of making your Christmas pudding on that day. So because puddings need to be done before Christmas, it's meant to kind of, you go to church, you hear those words and you think, yes, time to do my pudding.
Oh, right. Well, that's interesting. I must listen out for them. Now, Jill, I know you always make your own Christmas puddings, don't you? And we want to know a few of your secrets, you know.
I do, and I'm quite proud of my Christmas pudding because all my family say it's the best ever.
Ooh, we all want some. So tell us about it then.
Well, it's a slow cooker.
Oh, is it? Using a slow cooker?
Use my slow cooker. So the blending of all the ingredients, of course, is wonderful because it's in the slow cooker for about 10 hours.
Ooh.
On high.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So really the prime secret is to get this pudding as moist and as dark in colour as possible. Yeah. Because pudding is meant to be really dark, not like a sort of makeshift plum pudding or a fruit cake or something like that. So I use lots of dark brown sugar, dark black treacle, and more fruit than they say, usually, and very little flour and shredded suet.
Gosh,
but it's the slow cooked aspect that I think makes it.
I mean, when should you start all this? You know, it's got to mature, hasn't it?
Well, you see, Stir Up Sunday is roughly the end of November. So that's considered to be the good time interval for the pudding to mature by Christmas Day.
Ah, that's good. So we need some ingredients, don't we? I mean, have you ever made one, Grace?
I've never made my own. I think some of my family used to. I do love a Christmas pudding, and I might be brave enough to try it this year, actually.
Yeah, I'd like to try it. Maybe we're going to learn something now and all have a go at it.
Yeah.
But I should have said it doesn't go straight into the slow cooker. It goes into a pudding basin, about 2 pint size pudding basin, into the slow cooker, surrounded by water, boiling water. So it's kind of steamed all that time.
It's steaming, yeah. And do you have to cover the basin, or?
Yes, cover with tin foil. Then fill about 2/3 up the depth of the pudding basin with boiling water.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a fairly deep slow cooker, but you could use a wider shape of pudding basin. You need about 2 pint for the recipe I use, 2 pint size.
Yeah? Okay, yeah, my mother used to make hers in the pressure cooker, I believe. But anyway, that's another matter.
That would get a comparable effect. But you can just shove it all in together, and this is where the stirring comes in. You just put all the ingredients into a nice big mixing bowl, and get someone with a good strong arm to help stir. Traditionally, everyone in the family had a stir. You see, on Stir Up Sunday, everyone in the family had a go at it.
Oh, yes, very much a family affair, isn't it, Grace?
Yes, yeah. I've heard of people when everyone takes their turn to stir. I've heard that they get to make a wish for the year ahead. That's something I know some people.
There you are.
Yeah.
We'll be hearing more about pudding tips in just a few minutes. But first, I'd like to share our thought for the week with you. James Brookman, Torch's audio transcription coordinator, has been thinking about how we all too often compare ourselves with others.
Do you ever find yourself making comparisons with others and coming up short? I know I do, and it can be quite depressing. For exercise, I cycle around my local hill in Worcestershire, a well-known circuit of about 16 miles. And every time I go, I am, thanks to comparison, made painfully aware of my deficiencies. The problem is exacerbated by the circuit being a two-way road, some people going clockwise and some going anti-clockwise. So no matter which way you go, you'll meet people going in the other direction. On the face of it, that's nice. You always greet your fellow cyclist as they go past, and you should have the further pleasure of seeing them again round the other side of the hill. But the reality is quite different. Subconsciously, you find yourself calculating where you should meet them on the other side of the hill. And then, inevitably, when you encounter them sooner than you expect, that is, they're cycling faster than you start to get depressed and think of all the mitigating circumstances, like they must have had a following wind, and maybe they've got a better bike than me, and I'm sure they're younger than me. As I say, it's exhausting. Of course, comparisons in life, when rooted in our insecurities, are a waste of time. King David had the right idea when he pointed out in the Psalms that we should only look to God and that none can compare with him. Psalm 40 reads, "Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, who does not look to the proud, to those who turn aside to false gods. Many, Lord my God, are the wonders you have done, the things you planned for us. None can compare with you. Were I to speak and tell of your deeds, they would be too many to declare." Earlier in the same psalm, David explains the reasons for his trust in God. "I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God." So there we have the underlying truth, which undermines my need to make endless comparisons. God sets my feet upon a rock and has given me a firm place to stand. He replaces our insecurities with the assurance of his promises. I'll try to remember this next time I'm cycling around the hill and won't fret about where I meet each person for the second time. Although it did worry me recently after Bradley Wiggins set a new 1-hour record of 34 miles, that if he chose to ride around my hill, I'd see him 3 times before I completed a single circuit.
Thank you, James. It's so easy to compare oneself to other people, isn't it? And it's never helpful. Now that's something I'm going to keep in mind if I try making a pudding this year. Let's hear more tips from Jill now. So tell us now what you would put in it then.
Well, it's just 2 ounces of flour.
Plain, is that? Plain flour?
It's only a small amount, so it doesn't make much difference.
No, I see.
Yeah. And a few spices. Mixed spice is the key one, because you know that gives all the sort of Christmassy flavour into things, doesn't it? The mixed spice with cinnamon and things.
What, a pinch or a teaspoon or?
1 teaspoon. Fresh white breadcrumbs, 2 ounces. 4 ounces of shredded suet. Then the sugar, 2 ounces of the darkest brown sugar you can get, like molasses or something, really dark as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Then all the fruit. So you can have a mix of raisins, currants, and sultanas. But to keep it as dark as possible, I use more raisins than the other fruits. And you want a total of about 12 ounces of fruit altogether.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, quite a lot. 2 large eggs, then black treacle.
Right, how much of that?
No, 2. You see, I tend to shove in more.
You tend to guess a bit, don't you? I'm sure you're so used to getting the consistency.
I do. Well, at least 1 tablespoon of black treacle, then a bit of the liquor.
The liquor. Now, we like the sound of that bit going into it.
Yeah, now
This is the interesting part.
It's very important. I always put more than it says. Brandy.
Brandy.
It says 1 tablespoon. Guess how much I put?
Come on, then, you tell us how much.
Now.
A small wine glass, a whole wine glass.
Oh, wow.
Well, do you know, I think that's right, because I've often heard, they're making brandy sauce and things, and you buy it from the supermarkets. And honestly, it's got no taste. And last year, I've definitely topped mine up with more.
Yeah,
Oh,
same with Christmas cake.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do that with everything. I always put more in than it says, and it always turns out well. I've never gone so far that it's ruined the recipe. So.
And little children and toddlers, grandchildren, they seem all right. They don't go tipsy on it.
And of course, you're boiling the alcohol. That's an important point. I mean, all this is being boiled off in a way. You've got the flavour.
Yes.
But you haven't got the alcoholic effect, have you?
Actually, another tip is to soak all the fruit in the brandy overnight before you mix all the ingredients. And that helps to make all the fruit as moist as possible.
So it gets all swollen up, doesn't it? Because it takes it in.
Yeah.
That's interesting, yes.
So I tend to do that. The recipe doesn't say so, but I do it.
That's a good top tip.
Yeah. And then you can add a bit of beer as well.
Beer.
2 fluid ounces of beer. I really don't know what that's for. And I've sometimes done that.
Now that's a surprise.
If you tasted it before you put it all in the cooker, you might be dancing in the kitchen.
you might be falling over in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, I always have a taste of everything. And I can't drink much alcohol, but I seem to cope with this. So that's the ingredients, and stir and stir and stir and stir. Yeah. And then shove it all into the buttered pudding basin.
Now, once you've put it in there and it's all cooked, you obviously leave it for a while before you kind of have to get it out.
That's right. I just take the basin out, let it cool, keep the tin foil on it, put it somewhere cool, doesn't need to go in the fridge. And then on Christmas Day, or whenever you're going to consume this wonderful pudding, heat the slow cooker up again, put it in the slow cooker again with the boiling water, be 2/3 up the side of the pudding basin, and heat for 4 hours on high.
Yes, so because you're moistening it, you're cooking it, bringing it, to a good
reheating,
point again.
And reheating it that way, it just maintains the moistness of it, and then it comes out it is beautiful.
Oh, well, I think we'll all be coming round to you for Christmas.
Yeah, it sounds
won't we?
And it's so dark, it comes out nearly black, and that's what you want.
Wow. And do you do the pouring the alcohol on top and setting it on fire?
Oh, yes. Our scientific son showed us that years ago, how to do that. Yeah, brandy. Heating a tablespoon of brandy.
I would like to warn our listeners against doing that, just in case they're on their own and the fire brigade needs to be called.
Yes. Take that bit with caution. Yeah.
Yes.
It sounds grand, it really does. And do you serve yours with, what do you serve it with, brandy cream or
Oh,
brandy sauce,
yes,
or what
some
do you
like
do?
brandy sauce, some like brandy butter. Most of ours like brandy butter. I like stick cream.
Hmm. Sounds ever so nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I hope it's inspired our listeners, don't you, Grace?
I hope so. It certainly inspired me. I really think I might actually give it a go this time. So.
Yeah,
And
you
we're
gotta-
very, very sort of fashionable at the minute because we're using a very economical way of cooking, aren't we?
Oh, indeed.
A
I'm
slow
always
cooker.
using my slow cooker. Yeah.
Mm. Well, I think that's very interesting and important because we live in a society where everything is kind of rushed.
Yeah.
The
that's
quicker
right.
the better.
That's
But
right.
this making of the Christmas pudding and the stir-up Sunday, we're stirring everything up. And in a way, that's what we want God to do with our faith as well, don't we? To stir our faith, to stir our passion,
Well,
you
that
know, and
colic-
everything like that. And it's like completely, thoroughly stirred. I think it's quite a brave prayer to pray that God will really stir us up in our
Well,
lives, in
certainly,
faith.
and that stir up collect that is used at that point is a beautiful collect.
Well, let's listen to this collect that's used on Stir Up Sunday.
Stir up, we beseech thee, O Lord, the wills of thy faithful people, that they, plenteously bringing forth the fruit of good works, may of thee be plenteously rewarded, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Well, I'm sorry to say we're all out of time for today. We've loved having you with us, and we hope we may inspire some of you to cook up a storm this Christmas. If you'd like to explore some more desserts to make, you might enjoy the book Cakes, Bakes, Puddings and Prayers by Susan Over, available from Torch in Braille, giant print and Daisy Audio. This book contains a marvellous collection of mouth-watering recipes, each accompanied by a Bible verse, a short prayer, and a meditation that will encourage you to pause for thought or stop and smile. To order this book, or to learn more about anything Torch Trust offers for blind and partially sighted people, give us a call on 01858 438 260. That's 01858 438 260, or email info@torchtrust.org. Until next week, from me, Marilyn, and everyone on the Reflections team, goodbye and God bless.
You've been listening to Reflections from Torch Trust.